about my hat? Does it look okay?
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of UGASports Live. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm joined by Jim Donnan. We're going to talk a little Georgia, Florida. The world's largest cocktail party is back. This is the last year they're going to have it for a couple years. They're going to move it to next year. It'll be in Atlanta. The year after that, it'll be in Tampa. And then it'll go back to Jacksonville at least through, I think, 2031. And a lot of people are always asking, when we're going to move that game out of Jacksonville. And I keep telling them, never. Teams need money. And we're seeing that all across the college spectrum with teams cutting back on travel expenses and anything they can in order to generate more money to pay the players and to pay these crazy coaching buyouts. So everybody's in need of some cash. And if the city of Jacksonville wants to keep paying Georgia and Florida to come play there, they're going to go play there. So, Coach, we're looking at a Georgia-Florida game where, again, the Georgia team is looking at a new coach, an interim coach. And I thought the worst thing that could happen for Georgia would be for them to fire Billy Napier before he comes and plays in Jacksonville. Because sometimes these teams they can implode or they can rally. And I just got the nervous feeling that this is a Florida team that wants to rally this weekend and try to they've had a week off, and just like the Georgia team has. And you know me, I'm a pessimist. I'm so nervous about Georgia, Florida every year. You always talk me off the ledge. Talk me off the ledge this time, because I just don't trust this whole stadium and the way this thing is setting up.
Well, I've had it happen to me both ways as a coach. When I was here, they fired Bill Curry at Kentucky, and we played miserably up there. I coached bad, and how can you hand the ball off to Robert Edwards in the backfield and he just drop it? You can't coach that. But it was something I'll always remember, because I was talking to Bill before the game, and he was talking about how upset his family was and all that. But they rallied and beat us. And then I played a couple games out in Oklahoma where the coach was fired that week, and the coach actually called our coach and gave him the game plan. So, not really, but he kind of didn't like it. He told us a lot about their team, which I thought was a little disloyal. But you can see both sides of the picture here. But in the case of the Gators, it's kind of a sleeping giant team as far as playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They played some brilliant quarters and halves, but no really full games. And they've had some injuries lately that more than likely some of these guys will be coming back. But the biggest thing is just what kind of offense are they going to run? Their defense is going to be the same, kept the same defensive coordinator, but Billy Napier was the play caller as well as the head coach. So going to have to adjust a little bit to that style. But the biggest thing for us is just go down there and execute. That's been the name of the game all year. We've had trouble getting off the field on defense. We've had a hard time offensively with our injury situation. So hopefully after these 2 weeks of self-analysis, maybe some things have come to the front that they need to work on that we don't know about, that Kirby came up with. And I still like our chances, and I like the fact that it means a lot to these guys to keep this streak going against the Gators.
Yeah, Kirby Smart is 7-2 against Florida. Granted, I started covering the team in 1993, and it was 1990 when they just you talk to a Florida fan, they will always say about the record starting in 1990s, if that's when football started. But I get it. That's when they started being good. And I just saw a lot of bad games down there, and I don't know that if I could have ever imagined a Georgia coach going 7-2 against Florida. And this is going to be the fourth or fifth coach that Kirby Smart has seen down there. It just seems like he's at least his fourth. They are dying to get back to their winning ways. And I'm not saying there's a short leash, but they keep changing out coaches, and Kirby stays the same. And I don't think that being 7-2 has put a dullness on his, I won't say hatred, but he wants to win the Florida game. Always will. And I don't care who it is down there. I think this game means a lot to him. He won't say that. He won't say that at all. He's not going to give him any ammunition, but he wants to win all his games. But I think a Florida game means a little bit more to him.
Well, he's always good about keeping his emotions within as far as public. But from the standpoint of when I was here, we finally beat them, but they did have the they just had a good run going there. I mean, they not only beat us, they beat everybody in the SEC, and
Yeah, they won titles.
they played for national championship 2 years in a row, won one, lost one. But I think the Florida Gators just need to take a reality pill about, you're not going to get Steve Spurrier reincarnated. Maybe Lane Kiffin, because he wears a visor, they're talking about that helps him. I mean, I don't realize much about coaching, but I don't think what you wear has that much to do with it. But you always want to get back and think about what was going good for him. Urban Meyer was complete opposite of Coach Spurrier as far as being outgoing and very confident guy, but he wasn't near as he really had a tough relationship with the press down there and had some different kinds of players that and won differently than when Spurrier was there. So it's just a different landscape, which we'll talk about, about coaches getting these payouts and all that. But it's different now where, it used to be where Bear Bryant would say, if Florida gets somebody that can coach, all of us will be playing for second. But I do feel like at this point that the Florida job probably, because you're looking at NIL and not necessarily recruiting, which it is the great recruiting fertile base down there, you got to think LSU at the present time might be a little bit more conducive to winning right away than maybe the Gators.
I was thinking about this last night when I was talking to Jed. Guys have proven that you can win anywhere now thanks to the portal. If you want to be super active in the portal, you can go get some really good players. And we would talk about, I mean, you remember Tennessee, when you were recruiting against them, Rodney Garner, those guys, they had to go out of state to get players. They came to Georgia and fought you tooth and nail. They fought you in Florida. They fought you in Alabama. They fought you everywhere. Now you just open up the Ziploc bag of money and they come to you. Again, not your whole team, but the idea that you were limited by your geographical location, the amount of D1 athletes that your state put out. I mean, it still matters, but Lane Kiffin sitting at Ole Miss is like, we had one of the best defenses of all time. We just went out and bought it. They're winning at Vandy. They're winning at Indiana.
The big thing for me is just look across the country. You got teams like Indiana and Texas Tech, immediate benefactors of the portal. And I don't necessarily think – I agree with you on the money part for some players, but some players are looking to get into a big-time program and play on a level where they get exposure. So the money is important, but in the case of Indiana, 17 James Madison players came there with him that, were the kind of the big part of him winning there. And that gave him a little base, and then they were able to get guys like Fernando Mendoza and people like that. And then Texas Tech felt like they had an offense, but they needed a D-line. So they did exactly what you said. They put big money in some of these D linemen, and it worked out perfectly for them. And, they did lose the one game to Arizona State where the quarterback didn't play. But I just think overall it's a different landscape now. We've just got to adjust just like everybody else. And I'm looking forward, like the crazy season we talk about recruiting. This portal season, we probably need to show every day because I'm going to tell you, it's going to be like NFL free agency. When the NFL Network, which a lot of our people watch, well, I love that frenzy they call when they open up the NFL for the guys to go other places. But most of the time, these guys already got a deal before they even announce it. But we're going to see. I can just tell you right now, I'm not Karnak the Magnificent, but if I was Johnny Carson, I'd be opening up that envelope. And how many players are going to be Georgia taking in the portal? Over, under. I mean, you could say 20, you could say 30, you could say 40. Who knows? But the reason we're going to do it is we got to have a team that keeps competing like this. We're going to have some good players leave here. The same reason that 15 or 20 left last year. They want to play. So all of us, including myself, can't just wring our arms up and say, boy, I hate the portal, I hate NIL and all that. I love watching college football, and I'm going to watch it any way I can, and this is the way we watch it. And we've adjusted pretty dang good.
Well, trust me, I love the portal. Every time you throw to Zach Branch, I'm like, the portal is good. Every time you throw it to London Humphreys, I'm like, the portal is great.
And then when you see them beat our safeties, the portal is dog shit. So
Georgia being with 8 sacks on the year, dead last in the SEC, the only team without double-digit sacks. Like, stupid portal. I hate you. I hate your guts. So
Yeah.
I'm with you there. I was just thinking though, but everyone's like, well, these coaches are automatically going to jump to Penn State. They're going to jump to Florida. They're going to jump to LSU. Well, yeah, LSU, I could see that. Florida, they keep trying, but I'm like, Florida's got to understand the competition is so rough, and you can't just say that. Well, if we offer this guy from Indiana or Missouri, Drinkwitz, well, he'll leave Mizzou to come here. I'm like, if you tell Drinkwitz, hey, the extra $4 million you'd get from going from here to there, we're going to give you the same amount of money, plus we're going to give you a matching $4 million NIL war chest to go get the players you want.
Yeah, I think you definitely hit that, because an athletic director has to look at a situation as okay, my coach is getting asked to maybe look at this other job. What's it going to cost me to keep him and keep everything the way it is, compared to what if we're going to start over? I mean, you might get some settlement money that the coach has got to pay you, but the whole staff, and we're not talking about 10, 12 people now. We're talking about 35, 40 people that you got to reinvest in and start over. And the other thing that people aren't talking about in this process, what's LSU going to do with their athletic director? Here's a guy that gave 2 of the biggest contracts in the history of football, one to Jimbo Fisher at the Texas A&M, and this one here to Kelly. And neither one of them panned out winning on the level they thought they would. And I got to think that his job is in jeopardy. I mean, I think he's a good AD, but I would say if they're willing to cut loose all this money for Kelly, they're going to bring in another guy to run the program. And it really amazes me that Florida kept Strickland, who I think is a good guy and a good coach, a good athletic director, but he's got a phenomenally bad record here hiring coaches down there. Fortunately for him, the basketball coach was able to win, but they've had a big turnover in minor sports and not minor Olympic sports. So, plus neither one of them has a president. So, what's going to happen there? I mean, what the next president's going to be coming in there, and he's going to have a lot to say about it. I guarantee you, a coach and an agent are talking to Florida and LSU. Who's the president going to be? Because that's the guy that's. But maybe in an LSU situation, you need to talk to the governor, because the governor
exactly
pulling the punches there.
For folks that don't understand how big a deal that is, you saw what the handcuffs on the University of Georgia that it had under different presidents. And people are like, well, why can't the AD do this? And I'm like, because the AD answers to the president. The president is the one who signs the checks, basically, and the one who signs off on everything. And if you have a tightwad president, or you have a president who has a different agenda than your AD, that AD is gone. There was an unwritten rule. Well, yeah, it was unwritten, but it was the policy of former presidents that if the athletic association wanted to do an improvement, you want to fix the stadium, you want to fix the tennis course, you want to fix the baseball field, you get one project a year. They could afford to do more, but it's like, no, you get to do one a year. Josh Brooks comes in and says, hey, Jerry Moorhead, can we change this? And Moorhead's like, yeah. And all of a sudden, Georgia had 4 projects going on last year.
Yeah, one of the best things for us, and not because the guy let me go, but I really think Moorhead is not near as worried about his own ego as the other guy. I mean, we had the indoor building built, but he wanted us to give some of the money to the what's the place out here the where they have the flowers and stuff.
The botanical gardens.
Botanical gardens, and the people that were donating the money said, "Go raise that yourself. We're giving it to the football building." So, but I could go on and on about that. People don't want to hear about it, but I just feel like everything was in place for Kirby, and he knew it, and he demanded that in his contract. Hey, this is what we need. We're going to, because he talked to Pruitt about it. Pruitt told him what we didn't have, and you see what we were able to build quickly with Brooks was great about it, and certainly Dr. Moorhead's been awesome too. So, but I think that structure is critical to be successful. And let's just look at it like this about the landscape. You go back to September, Penn State's ranked 2, LSU's ranked 4 after the first game. Both these guys are history now.
Yeah.
The only guy that's having a bad year that's not is Dabo in the top 10. He was in the top 5 too, but and he's going to have to adjust a little bit. I just don't think you can keep having that culture of developing players and getting those guys in there. You're going to have to bring in some transfers, and he's going to have to adjust to that.
He reminds me of those houses you see on the Atlantic coast when a hurricane comes in, and all of a sudden all the sand starts going out from underneath it, and you're like, if this keeps up, that thing's going to topple over. Maybe it dies down, and then the sand's all pushed back, and it's all great. But he is I don't.
Right.
Yeah, so you've seen it up there in North Carolina. Some of those houses get washed away. Some survive. So anyway, we're kind of getting far afield on the coaching searches out there. But
yeah, let's talk about those Gators.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about the Florida Gators. You talked about the fact that certain teams, can a former coach can be mad at his team, but then sometimes these guys come out and say, "Hey, let's win one. Let's show the administration they were wrong to do that." And I think Billy Napier I think his team loves him. I mean, everybody's ever played for him said good things about him. I think they might come out with a head of steam and nothing to lose, Coach. So what do you?
You got to you can't give the other team too much credit or too much blame. The only thing you can control is yourself. But you got to feel like this guy, the interim coach, is going to probably come out there, deep down, he knows he's probably not going to get the job, but this is kind of a dress rehearsal for him to maybe get a job.
That was my next point.
If he does a good job. So he's probably going to sell the ranch. I mean, onside kicks, going for it on 4th down, everything that non-conventional, because what has he got to lose? What are you going to do? Fire me? So, and plus, that's the way to look at it. I mean, but also, you got to be careful about taking too many risks because you're going against a team that really can punish you if you get behind. It's been well proven that this football team is really a front runner on defense. If we can get ahead, our defense is so much better as far as rushing the passer, as far as playing the ball in the air. And the biggest emphasis for us has been stopping the run. And this Florida Gator team has got a really good running back. I mean, this guy can pound you. They got an experienced offensive line, got big receivers, as much talent probably as any team we played, with exception of maybe Alabama. So we're going to have to be ready to go. And I'm not just poor mouthing this. I really feel like that. I talked to you a couple weeks ago. I was a lot more worried about basically Florida than I was Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss certainly got firepower, but their defense Ole Miss defense is really a negative for them. So, but this Florida defense can pound you.
You did say that. I guess you're the reason for my pessimism. It's all your fault. I'm just letting you know.
Well, but just get your optimist hat on too, because I feel like our team, like any team, is going to be making constant improvement, particularly offensively with the health issues, and defensively, our secondary is starting to acquire some skills there. I mean, particularly man coverage on the outside, those guys are getting better. DeMelo's coming in. Robinson, if he can stop the penalties. The thing that kills us is the linebacker play. They continue to pick on our linebackers when we play man, and our safeties. So I don't know what we're going to do about that, but
I was about to say, Coach, I'm very optimistic about the offense. I mean, coming out of that, not having to punt against a number 5 team. And yeah, the Ole Miss defense is not great, but still doing that against anybody is impressive, scoring every time you get the ball. And just watching that offensive line maul people. I mean, those guys they're nasty when they pull and they come out and just eat up guys in space. And then the running of Chauncey Bowens and Nate Frazier, Dylan Bell. I'm just thinking the potential that we kept talking about for the offense is now starting to hit. We have a story on the front page of UGASports today talking about how the coaches are I don't say much more, but they're Kirby Smart said, look, we're trusting Gunner to he makes 3 decisions sometimes on a play. And first he gets to the right play, then he has to make 3 decisions in the course of the play, and he's choosing right. And as long as he doesn't, turn the ball over, I mean, Kirby's not going to say everything's great, but you could see the confidence coming in it and the confidence that Gunner plays with. And I'm like, okay, this is that strong offense that you can rely on. You're excited to see your team with the ball. And I'm like, and they obviously don't quit. They've come back from 2-score deficits. So I don't care who you are. They are hard to kill. We're talking about Halloween this weekend. They're ready to go.
Quick commercials. Let me go put this thing on my eye real quick.
Okay, got you. All right. I want to mention our friends over at Darden's Delights, and I'm going to tell you about one of the pies I just had. Now, everyone knows I'm a big key lime pie guy, a connoisseur of key lime pies, and the key lime pie I had from Darden's Delights was phenomenal. I may have a new favorite. The peanut butter cup pie may be the best pie I've ever eaten in my life, and I've had lots of pies, as you can tell. The peanut butter cup pie from Darden's Delights. If you like peanut butter, you like chocolate, you got to try this. If you're like me, when you go out trick or treating and you're hoping to get the house that has the Reese's peanut butter cups, or that's what you get when you go to the gas station and you're grabbing something. If you are a peanut butter cup fan, you got to try the peanut butter cup pie from Darden's Delights. And it's a great story. They created their fudge pie for a bake sale, and then everybody at the school was like, hey, can you make one of those for me? I'll buy it from you. And all of a sudden, Darden's Delights is created. Betsy Glass and her husband, both Georgia graduates. They have a daughter who's a freshman at UGA now. So multiple generations of Georgia fans and alums who are building this Darden's Delights pie empire, if you will. She makes them. This isn't farmed out. So you call Darden's Delights, you order all the pies you want. They're cooked, then frozen, shipped in wonderful packaging so that nothing happens to them. And you can buy 1 or you can buy 50 or 250, however many you want. So if you're trying to give them out, it's the last week of October. We're about to hit into November. You're going to need stuff. Go ahead and get your orders in now so that when Thanksgiving gets here, you roll out with their Get in My Belly gooey pie. I got to try that one. The extra dangerous fudge pie, or the cheeseburger pie, or the quiche Lorraine's, all the different types they have. Check out our friends at Darden's Delights. Some of their proceeds go to help folks with developmental disabilities, like my nephew, like Miss Darden herself. She's a wonderful young lady, and it's a wonderful cause. So do that. Also, want to mention our friends over at Athens Ford. If you are looking for a new or used vehicle, reach out to our friends at Athens Ford. They will take you through the smoothest sales experience you will ever have seen in your life. You go in, there's no pressure. They don't jump on you like a duck on a June bug, salivating like, oh, here's another sucker. You walk in, you can just look around. Like going in a grocery store, nobody's going to bug you. They're going to ask if you need anything. They're going to show you where the Starbucks coffee is and the drinks and the snacks, and you can just walk around. You can go online. I know a lot of folks are like, well, I don't want to go up there. Look online. If you go online and look at their vehicles, you'll get to see a video of each one. You'll get to see 30, 40 pictures of each vehicle. You're like, what does the center console look like? It'll show you. So point is, you can either shop online or shop in person. It'll be just as uninvasive, less invasive, whatever the opposite of invasive is. I can't think of the word. Check out Athens Ford, 2024 Presidential Award winner for customer service. And that's basically saying they, according to Ford, they had the highest customer ranking. So don't take my word for it. Take Ford Motor Company's word for it. So check them out. All right. Hey, Coach. What I was saying, but before we went to that commercial break, I was very optimistic about the offense. I'm also optimistic, like you said, about DeMello Jones. I think he's coming on. Quintavious Johnson, number 33, is starting to make a few more plays. Remember, this guy was a guy who was not exactly in the mix last year. He's a starter this year. Game 7. You've seen 2 different series in which he's made 2 plays out of the 3 like second down and third down. I'm thinking Quintavious Johnson, just an absolute freak athlete. Maybe he's rounding into form. C.J. Allen had a nice pass breakup against Ole Miss. They gave him credit for the pass breakup when you absolutely needed it on a third down. So maybe my pessimism on the defense is short-lived because these guys some of them are starting to come on. And I just want to get your thoughts about Georgia's pass rush and its edge defense, because I'm thinking with DJ Lagway, that's a guy that you gotta get to and bring down. He's a big kid.
Yeah, I think you look at it a couple ways on Lagway. He does throw some RPOs, which you're not going to get to him on that because every quarterback on an RPO is going to see that the line's set to stop the run, and they're just going to catch the ball and throw it wherever the guy leaves from and try to read that linebacker or read that whoever their read is on the RPO. But he is very good at avoiding the rush as far as being physically strong. He's hard to knock down. He doesn't really show a lot of mobility, although he can run around, but he doesn't have the quickness maybe that we saw from Trinidad Chambliss. But he definitely can hurt you if you play man and he breaks the pocket. But he's got a good arm and he throws the ball very effectively to this Wilson kid on the perimeter, and they got several other good guys. But I think from my perspective, as far as the rush, you're not going to get a rush on first down. You're playing the rush to stop, the run more than rush the passer. So, but if all of a sudden a team starts throwing a lot on first down, which teams have a tendency to do for us, then you start maybe calling more plays where your ends will maybe twist and you're not worried about the edge and things like that. As far as Quintavious, some of his plays have come on his quickness where he slanted inside and beat the rush, or he chased from the backside. And his confidence level is certainly there. But I do think that as coaches, this off week gives you a chance to really self-scout, saw what worked for us, saw what didn't work, saw what everybody's doing to us as far as attacking us. And you got 5 games, 6 games, 7 games. We could even play 10 games as the season goes on to maybe assess that and then play around it. And I do feel like when our offense was struggling a little bit, that really hurts the defense even more because you're thinking, hey, if we don't stop them here, we don't know if we can score again, and that's what happened in the Alabama game when we went for it on fourth down because we didn't know if we could stop them and we didn't know if we'd be down there again. Of course, you never know that, but you base it on percentages. So long story short, I feel like our defense can get better. I don't know that it is because they haven't proven that to me yet. Playing the ball in the air, rushing the passer. We've been pretty good against the run, but it's just such a high standard here.
Oh, gosh.
You see all these guys on Sunday playing. I think it's great when Patrick does that, and I read it, hearing about Kamari Laster and Bullard, and you see some of these teams on TV, they got 3 Georgia players starting on their defense.
It's mind-boggling.
Incredible.
I'm going to give you a chance to shout out your boy, James Cook.
Yeah, I just texted James after the game, and I said, you did everything I taught you, James. No, I'm just of course, they were running that New York Life defense for the Panthers. I mean, he broke the line of scrimmage a couple of times. There wasn't anybody between him and Mecklenburg County up there in Charlotte. But 200 yards. I mean, in the NFL, not many guys can say they did that. And he's worth every penny they're playing. And I promise you, he's a loyal guy to Georgia, did a good job for us. And I couldn't be happier for James and the way he's playing.
Awesome. Dayne Young is joining us, and he's been busy welcoming new students to the Grady College of Journalism, I think, or something like that. Whatever he's doing, it doesn't matter. It's his other job that we don't really care about. But Dayne, I know we got a few questions from the dog vent that we want to get answered, and we got a couple in the comment section there. So I'm going to let you start to answer the questions, and we'll hit our last commercial break in about 10, 15 minutes.
All right, let's start with Arms Dealer Dog. Says, Coach, last week you spoke on the difference of schedule strength between the Big Ten and the SEC. Why does it never get talked about from the national perspective? It seems like it's a massive advantage come playoff time that some of those Big Ten teams haven't had to play such different games week to week to week.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's covered, but we don't see it a lot. But because everybody's so geared toward listening to the SEC gripe about it, which we should, because the one thing you can say for sure though is they got 3 teams in the top 6. I mean, which is pretty impressive. Although we got 5 in the top 10, I think, so, or top 12. But we knock each other off. You don't see anybody beating Oregon or Indiana or Ohio State that are, down the road type teams like, for example, Florida beating Texas. I mean, that's a big win any way you look at it, So I don't know why it's not spoken more, but I think these committee guys see it for sure. And we could have 5 teams. ACC could have 3, and who knows? But I would say more than likely we got a chance for 4, 3, and then the rest of them.
I think as coach, Lane Kiffin put some words to this about how many one-score games are in the SEC, that just because Alabama plays at South Carolina can still beat them. You saw Texas and Kentucky. Like, I think that's the depth that this question's talking about, that, yeah, you may have 5 or 6 teams in the Big Ten, but you look at the bottom of it and there's not a whole lot that can scare you there.
Yeah, all you got to do is make this analogy. Michael Jackson played here, couldn't make the travel team when we took 72. He goes to Purdue and catches 14 passes in 1 game. I mean, and that's no slight on Michael, but it's just the idea that the talent in that league, not only is he a good receiver, but what kind of defensive backs is he playing against? I mean, so it's not – they just don't have – and I promise you I'm being objective and I'm not bagging them. They just don't have the really depth situation that all these teams down here have. The first line guys are pretty good on some of these teams, and some of them have their own characteristic. Like Iowa's got a really good defense and their offense is getting better, but still after those first 3, there's not any really worry me too much.
I also think about the fact that real quick, you see what happens in the SEC if you don't beat 3 ranked teams, coach is out. That's what we demand is it's
hey,
the margin for error.
To me, it's not much different than when they let me go. We were in the top 15 in the country 3 straight years, but biggest thing for us was we didn't beat the teams we're supposed to, that we wanted to beat. Our biggest rival, and a lot of reasons for that, but I can understand it. But they can pull the trigger on you back in the old days too. I mean,
I'm saying that, but that's the SEC is my point. It's everywhere. I mean, yeah, they got rid of James Franklin, but that's been going on a long time. Mark Richt's winning 10 games a year. They're like, they ain't good enough. Ole Miss, remember the first time they were kind of good, after, what was it? Was it Tommy? Or I think I fired somebody who was winning 9, 10 games down there thinking that needed to get over the hump, and they spiraled out of control after that. And like we said, Florida's on its 4th, 5th coach now. So it's just
Roddy, look at these SEC standings. This top group: A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Vandy, Tennessee. I guess Texas technically, but like they are in the mix for the SEC championship, right? At the bottom, they've either fired their coach or are on the verge of it. When you're talking about Kentucky, Arkansas, South Carolina, Auburn, LSU, Florida, like that, it's volatile. Either you're competing for the league or you're out.
That's my point. So I'm just saying that's the standard, and therefore when they talk about, oh well, those guys are looking for new coaches, so those teams aren't any good, and you don't have the depth, the schedule, strength of schedule. I'm like, yeah, because the coaches get fired because it's championship or nothing, championship or bust. So I'm with you. Coach is right about the depth. He's dead on.
From Hug Dog 18, coach, in rivalry games, emotions can count more than usual and be the difference in the results. How do you manage emotions for your team in a rivalry when you know that you have the better roster, but sometimes you just find yourself behind the 8 ball?
Well, you got to caution your team about silly, stupid penalties when somebody says something to you, or get emotional when a guy hits you or something like that, because those can really turn the game around. For instance, you watch every week where a guy like last night, saw a guy from Kansas City just throw the ball towards the guy after he caught a pass and cost him 15 yards. It's just stupid, immature thing. So you got to channel your energy and understand how much you take away from the team when you do something like that selfishly. And but the reality is, for all our fans, this is the 4th year of Billy Napier, and they've done really well recruiting and really well in the portal. Their squad matches up man to man with us as good as any team we'll play this year, except Alabama. I'll stand on that. I just feel like talent-wise, they really have some talented players. They just haven't meshed, and so our players see the tape. They know what's involved. They know what the rivalry is about. And as far as preparing your team, you just got to be more aware of what we do and not what they do. Just go down there and do our deal and continue to be one of the most least penalized teams in the country, a team that no matter what finds a way to win, believe in each other, and continue to stress the kicking game, which I promise you is going to pay off for us in the big game this year.
Real quick, Georgia leads the SEC in punting, definitely distance, and damn near fewest punts, and is only behind Vandy in field goal percentage. Georgia's at 90%, Vandy's 100%, 7 of 7. Georgia's 9 of 10. So you're right there, Coach. You're right at the top when it comes to the kicking game. And when it comes to penalties, Georgia is the least penalized team in the SEC by far. Georgia's got 32 penalties. Alabama at second has 45. Mississippi State has 65. So you've got half the number of penalties of a bunch of these teams.
We'll probably we're close on returning the punt too. I mean, you see how good that guy is catching a screen pass. If he ever catches a punt where they kick it deeper, watch out. The guy is Zachariah Branch is electric.
Well,
Sorry,
he is the
Kentucky
subject.
and Missouri that only have 40 penalties, but still Georgia's only 32. So that's pretty damn good.
Billy Zane has a question about Zachariah Branch. Says, I love that Georgia can attack a defense in a lot of different ways with a lot of different players. But when you have a Zachariah Branch, you have to get him touches. How do you balance that?
What do you mean, as far as getting everybody else the ball and him, or what do you think? Billy always gets me thinking.
How do you attack a defense in a lot of different ways, but also prioritize a playmaker like Branch?
Well, you go into a game with how can we get the ball to him where it just doesn't depend on a read, where no matter what, it's like turning and handing the ball to him if he's a running back. So it's a predetermined, jet sweep, a screen behind the line, a quick out, something that he can get it. And I thought we did a great job against Ole Miss. I think he had, 11 maybe touches. But you also got to play within the framework of there's other guys that can help you too, like Bell. Look what he did. You see what our tight ends were able to do when they converge their coverage on our receivers. So there's a fine line between making first downs and using your game plan and then accentuating it with on the top of your thing. How do we get the ball to Champ Bailey? How do we get it to Hines Ward? How do we do it to this? And certainly you got plays, but those are just reminders that what if they're not doing this? This is what we're going to go to. You just can't rely on your memory for that, but most coaches can. But you want to have that just etched up there that this is the way we're going to get to Zachariah. And you don't want to say on Sunday morning, boy, I wish we'd have tried this. I wish we'd have tried that. You better try it because you're cheating your team when he's not getting the ball. I mean, he's just too hard to tackle. And I think from Bobo's perspective, and I'm not a homer here, I'm just a realist. When you're worried about how you're going to protect your quarterback and how you're going to make first downs because your O-line is not cohesive, then you probably lose your aggressiveness a little bit in calling the game because you're thinking about why play won't work instead of why it will. And now that we have a full complement of O-linemen and subs, I think we're going to see that repetition of attack, 2nd and 2, let's go for a shot play. 1st and 10, let's do a flea flicker. You know what I mean? As compared to life or death, we only got 7 possessions. We better be careful with every play. Yeah. So 98 plays, 86 plays, that's when you're a good play caller, because you're a good play caller in the clutch too. But I'm saying a lot easier when you got that flow going. And like Switzer used to say, Tom Osborne, he's pretty good play caller against Kansas and Kansas State, but his ass gets tight when he plays the Sooners. I had a call from Coach yesterday. He was out walking, and once in a while he just calls me and he says, "How much you think they'd have paid me back in the day now, Coach?" He said,
Oh my God.
He said, "They got to go $100,000, $100 million for me, don't you think?" So it was good.
Coach, if you were Georgia now, you'd be making what, $13 million? He'd be making what, to get him 15?
Depends on whether Vince Dooley was AD or not.
That's true.
Vince was good to me and everything, but he was tight. That's for sure.
Hey, you'd have it.
Important question before we get to a break here, and this is from Troubadour. Ginger or Marianne?
You mean I got my choice?
Yeah.
Looks like Ginger's a little bit more ready there, but Ginger won on the left.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
I don't know. They'd have to. I'd like to put them in a pit and let them fight over me.
I thought you were about to say, I want to make them into a sandwich. You in the middle.
I wouldn't do that. If you need I'm not that great. Hey, I wouldn't even think about people like that. But I do have a joke that I can't forget that I got to tell you, that this old man talking about stuff like that was at the doctor, and he told the doctor, he said, I got an issue. He said, when my wife and I make love the first time, I always get cold and really get very clammy like. And he said, and then the second time, I always get hot and sweaty. And he said, well, let me talk to your wife. And brings a wife in there. He said, your husband says when y'all make love the first time, he gets cold and clammy, and the second time he gets hot and sweaty. He said, that old cougar, that old guy, he said he didn't know what he's talking about. We do it in January and June. It's a good joke. It's a good joke.
That's a good one.
The other joke, while we got it, is this is for Dayne. But this lady's talking, says, honey, would you like chicken or fish or meat? And he said, well, that's awfully nice of you. He said, I'll take the chicken. She said, shut up, you fat bastard. You can just get chicken soup. This is for my cat.
It's for the cat. Speaking of a man who has 3 cats, none of which I offered to get. I've heard that question before. What do we feed them? So,
if you want to impress the Marianne or Ginger in your life, maybe you need a teeth upgrade. And I think we know the people that can help with that.
Let's get that one in. But Marianne, are both of them still living?
I'm not sure. We rolling a commercial? Is that what we're doing?
That's what I was asking.
Gilligan. I used to like Gilligan. I mean, it was good, but
it's a good show.
Back in the old days, you didn't have many choices, but
prior to having the dental implants, I was in pain and there were like loose teeth, and it's kind of a little bit of a complex talking or smiling. Having periodontal disease and trying to find a good place like this place to get it done is very difficult. I'm looking at the website and I'm like, wow, they've got their prices like right there. Top arch replacement, bottom arch replacement, whatever you need. Highly recommend it. ATL dental implants. I'm learning to smile again, let's just say.
I'm going to go by there and tell them to fix number 7. I need number 7 worked. I think that's the number. But yeah, Atlanta Dental Implants, big sponsor of our show, and also the 321, the Georgia 321 report on Fridays. I'll have one for you this Friday. And without it, please don't take anything I say against them, because if I have a bad joke or a bad prediction, they had nothing to do with it. But they do understand that the folks that read the Dog Vent are always looking for something to read and want something to entertain them. And I try to do that with my column. And the folks at Atlanta Dental Implants are huge Georgia fans. Therefore, they sponsor not only this show, but our column. And we thank them a whole lot. And it's one of those situations, if you remember the old hair club for men thing where the guy says, I'm not only the founder, I'm a client or something. Yeah. So I'm headed to Atlanta Dental Implants to get them to work on one of my teeth. And I'm just telling you, the people who've been there, the testimonials are through the roof. So you check them out too. And I'll be able to give you a firsthand account here very soon.
Mary Ann was played by Dawn Wells, who was Miss Nevada in 1959. Unfortunately, she did pass away in 2020 at the age of 82. Tina Louise played Ginger in Gilligan's Island. She is currently 91 years old.
Good for her. I mean, I wonder if she's still playing bingo. What's her difference? No.
Shoot your shot, Coach.
91.
All right,
she's too old for me.
This one may hurt a little bit, Coach. DVD Dog says, Coach, if you had a do-over, what would you have done differently in your last game at Marshall, the national championship in 1995?
Well, that really gets me rolling. I can tell you one thing. When you got a guy that's a Rhodes Scholar, I'm talking about Chad Pennington, smartest quarterback I ever had, a Rhodes Scholar, 48s to the right, 49s to the left. He calls 48 and he goes 49. All he's got to do is open up 48 and the game's over. We're running the clock out. We make a first down. It's not Chad's fault that we did some other things. And then we had fourth down and they ran a slant play on Cunningham. He gives away the inside and they kick a field goal and beat us. That was a bad loss. We had the better team, but they did. You know, that little quarterback they had ended up playing in Canada, did a good job. But I'll always remember Chad, 48 to the right, 49 to the left, and he went 49. So he opened up the wrong way and couldn't pitch the ball to Parker. So that's what I would have done. I would have told Chad, I said, hey, you dumbass, you don't even know the difference between 48 and 49. Go out there, we're going to run 48. You turn and pitch it to the right. You understand? But I just said, hey, Chad, go 48 or 49. So he goes up to the line, says 48. Goes 49, we lose.
From Mayberry Dog says, Coach Donnan, every year we search for the identity of a Georgia team. Some years it's defense, some it's the running game, some in the passing game. Do you feel that this young, battle-tested team will peak at the right time? And what do you think the team's identity is?
I certainly feel like we're moving towards that, just from the standpoint. These things just don't happen. You just don't play in the tough clutch like that without some belief in each other. So I feel like that's on our side, and it's in the other team's head too. We're playing Georgia. We can't put them away. But as far as the identity, we've got to establish some defensive identity. I mean, it's not there yet. And we got to be careful about asking for too much. But I just feel like that we understand kind of Socrates, know ourselves. We know our makeup now. Coaches know it. And maybe we can't run as many defenses. Maybe we can't have as many checks. Maybe we can't sub as many guys. Maybe we got some guys playing that need to get sub 4 and playing too many reps. So all those things we got to master over there. He analyzes it all. And I feel like everything's ahead of us the rest of the year.
Pierce Outlaw and Pollock 47 with a very similar question. A lot of times we see younger players emerge after the late season bye. Who are the candidates on this team to ascend late in the year to help Georgia?
Chris Cole, Williams, DeMello Jones. Even I think maybe we could see more of Kelly, maybe Dinkins at safety. Those guys along with Elijah Griffin. Maybe some of those edge players on defense, offense, certainly Glover and among the better freshmen in the country, and Juan Gaston on offense. And I also can see Elias Williams coming on at tight end. Maybe one or two of these younger receivers now that Colby's out. We might see some of those guys surface a little bit, like Roldan or that kid from Savannah. I can't think of his name that's been hurt. What's his name, receiver?
I was thinking more C.J. Wiley of anybody. That was my guy.
Well,
'Cause I was thinking-
Wiley just hadn't had quite the practices that this one guy from Savannah has. Think of his name. Blackshear, is that his name?
Thomas Blackshear.
Yeah. Wiley could maybe help us, but
I see. My first thought, and a lot of people started asking about him after Colby got hurt. I think just because the size comparison to Colby, but I'm with you. I'm thinking Noah Thomas plays the same position, so
Yeah.
all the balls
For some
are going
reason-
to.
for some reason, Noah just hadn't been able to do it. He did it against Auburn, but he just hasn't. I mean, they just don't throw him the ball. I don't know what it is, but we'll see. But I just feel like with Bell and certainly Zachariah, to me, that's where you put the emphasis, and then use these tight ends. I can see us using 3 tight ends sometime, and maybe 4. Put Riddell and Williams in there, and just pound that rock. I like that.
Kirby mentioned they were in 14 personnel, and I thought I was kind of joking about it early before the season started, just looking at that tight end room. He's like, yeah, we've run 14, 13, 12. And I'm like, yeah, it looks great when you're at 14. I know the wide
It's
receivers.
great when
hate it,
Lawson
but I love
Lucky
it.
catches 3
Go
touchdowns.
back to that Alabama game when we played them and lined up Darnell and Delp and Brock Bowers and that trips bunch formation. They didn't know how to line up. For some reason, we got away from it, but they were so worried about the pass that, where's Bowers going to end up, that we ran the ball right at it. And boy, I could see us doing some of that.
Did you see I know you saw it, but I mean, I think back to that Gunnar Stockton score in Sanford Stadium where he's running behind Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky, and they're just driving that star and the DB, or it's going to be the safety and the DB, into the in first row of the student section there. And I'm like, man. And if you have Riddell out there or Elias Williams, yeah, I'm with you, Coach. And
Yeah,
I love
that's-
the formations and doubling them up on both sides, and all of a sudden you're not sure which way they're coming at you.
Yeah, all the things that we've been able to do running the ball to our left, I think we can do to our right now with Green over there and with Gaston coming in there at guard and tackle. But Glover's been so consistent. And, of course, Bobo really does a good job too. I mean, we got an elite offensive line right now. I'm talking about it's an elite offensive line.
I'm with you.
From Mitchell Dog, would you agree, Coach, that in today's world of college football with the portal and NIL, that high school recruiting is not as important as it used to be? Most kids just seem to go to the team that has the biggest check and that spreads out the talent more.
I agree to a certain extent because you've got to augment your team with maybe more guys, in the portal. But it's probably a little bit more inclusive because you've got to really, bear down how many of these high school guys you're going to get. So you have to recruit harder because those guys are getting demand for the reasons he's talking about. So, and you got to keep them. Like you see all these things about these guys are still making visits and all that, and each December signing date. But it'll always be evaluation first, though. How many mistakes do you make in recruiting? A very good example. I'm not saying that these safeties are mistakes, but they certainly, at this point, aren't good choices because they're not helping us right away. The 3 guys we took in the portal. So you got to eliminate the mistakes, and you got to get the guys that can help you. But I think to a certain extent he's right, but also the high school recruiting is even more paramount because you got to get the right guys because you're taking so few of them that they better be able to play.
We are noticing a lot of these kids, kind of off the record will tell you that their NIL, I don't want to call it offers, NIL packages are starting to get a lot more similar. The market is kind of leveling out.
Exactly.
It's still a lot, but it's not like, hey, team Y is offering me $30,000 a month. Team Z is offering me $100,000 a month.
You know why, don't you? Everybody's got the 20 million.
Yeah, that's my point, So they're like, I'm getting this, and all of a sudden now we're getting back to those relationships matter and the culture matters. And I've been very impressed. We saw Kirby Smart, he beats Ole Miss. He says that's a culture win. Texas and Alabama both should lose, both come back and win. Both coaches go out and talk about the culture. And it is tough to have a team where you bring in, and I don't want to call them mercenaries, but you bring in transfers and you know, got guys transferring out. And all these schools have developed a pretty good, you know, culture about, you know, their team. So I think,
and I certainly agree with everything you're saying about the culture. But I'm going to go back to this on the NIL, and I'm going to say it every time. It's more about playing time. And if you're a transfer, you better go someplace where you're not sitting on the bench, because you're playing somewhere, and now you're going to go somewhere maybe for a little more money, but you better get someplace where you're going to play, because you're trying to go to the league. Good examples, Ashton Daniels. He thought he was going to get a fair shot at that job at Auburn, and maybe he did. I don't know what Freeze did, but 7 or 8 games he doesn't even play. He finally gets to play. He would be helping Stanford unbelievable out there, but now maybe he'll help Auburn save Freeze's job. But I just think all of us need to listen to old coach. These guys aren't leaving Georgia because of money. They're leaving to play other places. These guys aren't coming to
separate conversation altogether. Yeah.
These guys aren't coming to Georgia because of money. They're coming because they want to play in a winning program and they want to get developed. Now, they know that we're going to meet the money standards that other teams do. But, for example, the running back, the ETN, he came to Georgia to play in a winning culture. Everybody's offering him the same thing. I mean, and that's what happened for him, and he ended up getting drafted pretty well. But unfortunately for us, he was hurt a lot. But that's the way it goes in today's culture.
And we also knew somebody at an Audi dealership. That didn't hurt.
One final one from the dog vent says, I'm sure Coach has told the stories many times, but I haven't heard it. I'd love some background on the biggest upset win that he had over Florida. It was probably my favorite game that he had as a kid, and I remember Georgia was roughly 20-point underdogs, got the win. What was practice like that week? Did the coaches expect that they had a chance to do that? Had they figured out some kind of wrinkle that gave them advantage? Anything surrounding that 97 game over Florida? That's from Nash Dog 785.
Yeah, we had good practices that week. I mean, I remember Johnny Majors was here that week speaking at the Touchdown Club here at Athens, and he said, I can't believe y'all are out there doing live work on the goal line. I said, Coach, we got to do it. I mean, we're going to play against a physical team, and we get down there, we got to make it. So we went live goal line on Tuesday, kind of like what Kirby does. But I did feel like game plan-wise that we could snatch those 5 techniques, which is hard to do to an open field side. You know, guys outside leverage, and they don't think you're going to try to run that way. But both our tackles, Terry and Stinchcomb, did a great job, and then Hines Ward blocked the perimeter. But I kid Bobo about it. The first half, he couldn't throw the ball to our team, and we would have been in good shape in the first half, but we had some turnovers. But it was a great win, but we expected to do well, maybe not get all the interceptions from Steve that we got. But the one thing I'll always remember is Craig Silver told me before the game, right down on the sideline, a producer for CBS, he said, Coach, I hope everything goes well today, but I'm telling you, if things get out of hand, we're probably going to go to a West Coast game during the game. He said, it's nothing against you, but that's just the way it is. I said, I promise you one thing, Craig. The only reason you'd go to it is because we're going to be whipping Florida's ass. And I felt like it, but I didn't know we were going to beat them that bad. But so after the game, Michelle Tavoya is on the sideline interviewing me. And the first thing I told her, I said, I'm glad it stopped raining because I didn't want your hair to get messed up. Just kind of kidding. And I said, I sure am glad we were able to have the whole game on TV so everybody could see Spurrier come up and shake my hand or something like that off the air. And then when we got on the air, I was very blasé and all that, but tremendous win. It'll go down as one of the best days of my life. And to be in that locker room after the game, after all those years of hardship for Georgia Bulldog fans, but the players, because they knew we had finally, you know, we didn't do it against Tennessee that year. We played terrible, and we played terrible against Auburn when we had some success. But that was a monumental victory for us to get over the hump and kind of set the stage for Georgia football for years to come, I think.
Absolutely did. And Coach, that's all the time we have for this week's show. I'm sorry we didn't get some of the other questions in the comment section there, but keep them for next week.
Give me 2 more quick questions, so one of them from each of them, and that's it, and then I'll get out.
Coach, you have your finger on the pulse, and you see these players. Do Riddell and Elias Williams have any semblance of Brock and Darnell? How close are they and C.J. Wiley to seeing significant playing time?
I think both of them are, certainly Riddell's got the speed that Brock has, and certainly Elias is big like Darnell, but not maybe as thick, but maybe a little quicker. But they've got body types that lend being a good tight end and give you hope for the future. And we've got 2 guys who are playing at an elite level. Kirby talks about them all the time, the way they practice and the way they block. But CJ could come in there and maybe get a shot now that Colby's out. We talked about Blackshear. But we got good depth at the wide receiver room.
And last question from J Malley 89. Will the SEC get 5 teams into the playoffs? Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, A&M, Tennessee, Vandy?
I think we got a chance for 4 for sure. You got a couple on the bubble that already got 2 losses. They can't lose. Tennessee can't lose again. And Ole Miss situation, they're probably not going to lose again because they played 4 games, all games in the state of Mississippi. They got to play at Mississippi State, but they got Florida coming there and then whoever they're playing this week. And then they got Citadel. I mean, come on. But it's we talked about it earlier.
They have South Carolina this week. They have South Carolina this week.
South Carolina's got the kind of offense that can hurt them. They can keep the ball away, but I think Ole Miss is a tough out. I wouldn't want to play them again. Their offense is really something.
Awesome. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for this week's show. We will see you next Tuesday. We'll be talking about the results of the Georgia-Florida game and looking ahead to the following week. And be sure to join us for the watch-along show this Saturday at 3:30. They always kick off a little later, so if we say 3:30, that's probably 3. I imagine kickoff will be like 3:40. So join us about 3:35 for that Georgia watch-along show with Coach Donnan, and we will see you then. Take care.